Mouths of the South post-Thanksgiving coming right after the rankings release for the 2021 class. Most of the senior years for players that have been playing around the country are wrapping up or they're nearing the end. That includes Maason Smith. For a while has been the number one player in Louisiana. For a while has been the number one defensive tackle in the country. And now Maason is the number one overall player in the country on Rivals. He joins Mouth of the South. Maason, when you got the news today, just what was your reaction?
Well, shoot, I thought it was real crazy. Being in the number 5, I thought I was in a good spot. I mean, to definitely grasp the number 1 spot, but I never really thought of it. I kind of thought, I was gonna stay somewhere in the top 10, and I was gonna be fine with that. That's a good career in high school. Not many people ever get to say something like that. But when I got the number 1 spot, I was really in awe. Like, my mom had called me because she had seen she was real proud of me. So it's just like, getting recognition from people around the state and around my city, especially, that just makes me feel good. It shows me, a lot of the hard work I've been putting in lately. And I mean, I'm very thankful for it.
Maason, talk about a little bit what went through your mind, if it was your mom that told you first, when you first got word or found out or read it or saw the video, when you first got the word you're the number 1 player in the country, what went through your mind at that time?
At that time, I was thinking about just, I really wasn't even thinking about the number 1 spot. I was thinking about, how going to transition to college, like, I'm going to have to put up big numbers, because they're going to have a lot of expectation that come with that number 1 spot, which, I mean, I'm all up for that. That's why I've been working. That's why I've been training. That's why I've been grinding for the last 3 years. So, I mean, that's what I really thought about, just making a big impact with whatever university I get to come January.
Maason, you mentioned it before. I mean, being number 5, you could have been content with that. I'm just wondering if you're the number 5 player in the country, the number 10, number 15, what is your mindset going into that final year of football, of high school football? You have the All-American games usually, but not in a year like this year. What's your mindset as you approach your senior year, knowing that, you're going to make an attempt to get that number 1 ranking, but you have to beat out 4 of the best players in the country to, usurp them?
Yeah, definitely, can't get no cold feet. I didn't got this far. You might as well just keep going to the top. I mean, that's the ultimate goal. And just keep grinding. You never can't, you never, like I say, you can't get cold feet. You got to keep grinding, keep progressing, keep getting better. I'm trying to be the best version of myself. So, I mean, if that's at number 3, number 2, number 1, wherever that ends, that's all I could do for myself. I'm proud of where I'm at right now, but I know I could do better.
When you're ranked, whether it be 5, 3, 2, 1, whatever you are, I mean, when you're that high, there's expectations, and that X is on your chest every week. Expectations on the field, off the field. You're watched under a microscope, and you're still just a kid. That's what people don't understand. I don't think appreciate and realize that you're still just a student. You're just a kid. What's it been like, for you over the past year and a half, 2 years, knowing that maybe you weren't number 1 back then, but you were obviously a very recognizable name on the recruiting trail. You were already highly ranked at an early age. What's it been like living your life day to day over the last couple of years?
Honestly, it hasn't changed that much. I mean, I get fans talking to me here and there, kids coming up to me here and there, but as a outside of football type thing, I'm still the same person. I ain't gonna change my ways just because of, something that I am outside of, just my normal life. But like on the field, I get everybody best competition. They all want to knock me off. So I mean, that's good at sometimes and bad at sometimes, But I mean, I wouldn't want it to be. I would rather be meeting somebody else in my position. So I mean, I'm very thankful for it.
Maason, something we haven't talked too much about, but obviously, part of the reason your ranking went up is you lost weight in this offseason. That was a goal of yours. It was something you wanted to do to reform your body, be able to get more speed, and you can see it. And you are still going against double and triple teams regularly. Talk about why you wanted to lose the weight and what impact you think it had on your game this season.
Oh, well, for sure, I really wanted to lose the weight. No school really told me I had to lose weight. You know, that's kind of a thing that I wanted to do for myself. You know, I kind of felt like I was getting too big after that quarantine. You know, and um, that quarantine really hit me. So I mean, I really wanted to do something for myself and try to progress. So I started dieting. I started like I said, I started dieting. I started a keto diet. I was on it for 3 months, and I lost close to 53 pounds. So
Wow.
and I kind of wanted to incorporate that with my game. You know, just because something that I really needed to work on was after getting past the line, what can I do to rush the quarterback? You know, just being on this trail, even if it's QB hurries, you know, that still gets a quarterback uncomfortable. So, I mean, even with that, you know, that still benefit or that still helps the team. You know, the team still benefits from that. So that was something I needed to work on in my game. So obviously losing weight would help, you know, just with me not moving as much weight. You know, I could still move back then. I couldn't move as good as I can now. And I've really seen that this season, you know, because if you look at my highlights from the season, you know, most of my plays are rundown plays or because obviously nobody's really gonna come at me. So I gotta go get it somehow. You know, I'm not just gonna sit there. Um and yeah, most of my plays are rundown plays, and you know, that's kind of different from my past highlight tapes. You know, that's just me being big and bossy, you know. And I couldn't do that this year, so I had to find another way to get it.
Maason, talk a little bit about, I know you say you were, whether you were 10, 5, 3, or 1, you were content. You're going to be the best you could be. But what do you think, Sam, myself, the Rivals team of analysts, we break you down, month to month, watching new tapes. Sam watched you live. I saw you at Future 50. We all have our opinions, and obviously we all think very highly of you. But if you were breaking yourself down, what do you think makes you different? What separates you from the other 249 in that Rivals 250 to make you number one?
Definitely my athleticism at my size. It's kind of like with me, you don't know if you can get a power move or you know, finesse move. I think some guys bring to the table just a power move or just a speed move or a finesse move. You know, I think I bring a good mixture, a good blend of both of them. And just my versatility on the defensive line front. You know, I could play the 2 tech, I could play the 3 tech, the 5. I mean, I feel like I could even play the 9 tech if they let me stand up all that. But I think just because I have the athleticism to play all those positions on the defensive front, I think that makes me very valuable. And just my quickness off the ball, you know, stuff like that. But there's also stuff I need to work on, you know, no doubt. But I think some things like that's what really makes me separate myself from other people.
Maason, when you think of big, mean defensive tackles that are athletic like yourself, you do tend to think about first-round picks coming out of the SEC, and more likely than not, that's probably where you'll be picking in a couple of weeks. It's catching up, and every time I see you, it's closer and closer. Now we're just a couple of days away at this point.
Yeah.
I know you haven't probably made a decision yet, but as this early signing period gets closer and closer, what's going through your mind? Is there an urgency that you need to settle on a team yet, or do you feel like close and almost there? Where are you at with everything?
Um, I'm I'm getting down to, you know, I'm trying to evaluate everything. That's why, you know, I've been taking some trips in silent, you know, just going around seeing things, just so people don't be in my mix. You know, I like taking time and just analyzing everything I can, you know, try to pick the best school for me, you know. And I've been doing that. So I've been jotting notes down. I've been taking notes. Like I got a notebook full of notes, you know, just trying to find, you know, what school best accompanies me. Um, and yeah, that's just pretty much it, you know. I mean, I think I'll come down to the decision probably like the next 2 weeks. Because you know, that's since I'm early and enrolling, you know, there's a lot of stuff that goes into that paperwork and stuff like that. So I'll for the most part have to make a decision a little bit earlier than some people say. That's just a signing in December and going back to high school, you know. And I'm just trying to find, you know, the best fit for me, and not only me but also my family, you know.
Absolutely. What kind of stuff are you taking notes on, man?
Uh, you know, like schemes, the environment of the school. I've been taking a lot of notes on the environment of school. Because, like some stuff that I've really been noticing about schools, like when I was younger, I didn't really notice this. Like when I was sophomore, freshman, I didn't really notice that. And I didn't really even notice it junior. Like every school has their own identity. Like when say if I were to visit Alabama, Alabama has a different identity than Georgia. Georgia has a different identity in Miami, and so on and so forth. So like just filling out the players, filling out the people. Like I done talked to a lot of players recently. Just trying to get the inside scoop because recruiters will tell you everything good. They ain't gonna never tell you nothing bad. So I'm just trying to be real with me and tell me how it is on a daily basis at the university. And just stuff like that. Just trying to get to the real roots of the university and trying to find the best place.
Maason, you mentioned you're an early enrollee and it takes some time to get that paperwork process and everything rolling for January. So we don't want to hold you up, man. If you want to go ahead and commit with us now on our show, I got the table set for you here. I got 3 hats for if you want to go ahead and set Alabama, Georgia, LSU. If you want to, I can try them on, see how they look, which one looks best on me, and go ahead and make that decision now if you want to go ahead and make the call.
Nah, I can't be.
You're not ready yet? Well, you mentioned Alabama. I got plenty of Roll Tide hats. Many guys have used in the past. I've used them too. So let's talk about that a little bit. You've been there how many times roughly over your career?
Well, two or three. But I'm trying to get back before signing day.
I cover a lot of kids, obviously, and their national program, they recruit across the country. So many times guys tell me just Alabama's Alabama. But what makes Alabama, away from just the Bama, what makes that a special place or a top school for you?
For sure. Easily, the structure of their program, like the way that they carry themselves is unlike any program in America, but that's easily shown just from the national championship after national championship after national championship, and they just have they make a good bond with their recruits. Like I talk to Coach Pete Golden and Coach Freddie Roach and Coach Saban all the time, and they just make you feel like home, and what the thing is with them, that's good for me. Coach Pete's from Louisiana, so he knows where I'm from. He's been to my hometown. He's been to things like that. So, at least, and there's also other players from Louisiana there, that could relate to me leaving out the state if that was where I, wanted to go. And just, like I said, the structure of the program and how they hold their players accountable, the Bama factor is a real thing. I've been seeing that, even since I was young, that was my favorite team growing up. Like I got hoodies, I got blankets, I got rugs, so just watching them growing up from a little kid, I could just see something was different, and now I really know. Like I said, they hold their players really accountable, and it'll be a great thing to play on under one of the best head coaches of all time, Nick Saban. So, and that's just it. You really, with Alabama, I think, is what you see is what you get. It's not no really eye candy. They're going to tell you how it is. And, some people can't take that. But, I think I'm built for that.
And in Alabama, Maason, as you know, has come into Louisiana and grabbed that number one player, number one defensive tackle year after year in the past. So it would be nothing new. Now, Georgia hasn't been able to do that in Louisiana. They've gotten a few here and there, guys like Micaiah Tongue, Major Burns. But you've always had interest in Georgia. You've always had a strong relationship with Coach Trey Scott. If it's one of these 3 SEC teams, Georgia's in it as much as anyone. What have they done really well to recruit you? And possibly be in contention to grab Louisiana's number one player, which they have not done in some time.
Well, definitely one thing I like about the Georgia coaching staff, they're really, they're really intimate about me. I could tell that they really actually, love me as a kid and not just a football player. I could really tell that from them. And just talking to them all the time, just like Alabama, they got some coaches on their coaching staff. Coach Cochran came from Alabama, from New Orleans, went to John Curtis, and me and Coach Cochran talk all the time. And just their defensive scheme also fits me. They run a little bit of 3-man, they run a little bit of 4-man, but, that's okay because transitioning, as my bigger goal gets there, transitioning to the NFL, a lot of teams run a 3-man. So that's very mandatory in the defensive line play, in college. And I think their defensive scheme really, it really helped me going into the next level after college. And back to the coaching staff, I talked to Coach Landon, I talked to Coach Cochran, I talked to Coach Cortez Hankin from New Orleans, St. Augustine. I talked to Coach Scott. I talked to Coach Nick Williams. I even talked to Katie and Angela. I don't know what they do, but they're on the football. They're in the football group. So just with them, it's always been a home field, and they really always welcome. Before COVID, they really welcomed me and my family with open arms, and I really like them, and they're just really loving, a real loving staff, and they're one of the best to ever do it to me, but yeah.
Now you talk about the hometown feel. You can't probably get more hometown than what matches your hoodie right there, LSU,
Yeah.
The home state. I guess first off, do you feel pressure to stay home and represent the home state school, LSU?
Most definitely. But it ain't nothing I can't handle. It's been like that since I was in 9th grade. But with the pressure, it would be cool to stay home and play. Since I'm from the bottom of the boot, everyone down here breathes LSU. And it's not like that if you go up north. It's just down here in the south. I'm at the bottom of the boot, so. With that, there does come pressure, but I think I can handle it. I've been handling it really well. But they don't really pressure me. The coaching staff themselves, they don't really pressure me. They want me to make the best decision.
Yeah, you literally are at the bottom of the boot. I've covered that state too. I've been down to your school before. It's down there now. I can lose some cell signal down there driving down that way. It's a little bit different down in your area for sure than New Orleans or Baton Rouge or Shreveport, on up there. In the middle of the state. So if you take the home state school out of the equation for LSU, what else appeals to you about that program, about the school?
Definitely something like Georgia. The coaching staff always open up with loving care. Just for my family. They didn't bring my family to they didn't host me and my family for games. Coach Rose and walk my family down to the 50-yard line. Time and time again, and just without them, I don't think I would have learned a lot of stuff because as I was younger, when going to their camps, they taught me a lot of stuff just about hand placement, getting off the ball, lunging, explosive hip stuff like that. So, they were really there when I was younger, so that that always speaks volume to me. And the coaching staff, Coach O, great defensive line coach before he was a head coach. So, me being a defensive lineman, that's something that I look into, and just having I guess you would say the veterans on their coaching staff, just with Coach Bill Johnson, he was with the league. He was in the league with the Rams with Aaron Donald for 2 years when they won a lot of games, when they were really successful. So, with him coaching one of the best defensive linemen, he would be one of the best defensive linemen to ever live eventually. I feel like I could learn from him a lot. And with other coaches like Coach Christian Lockature, that's my dog. I don't even look at him like a coach. I look at him like a big brother, because he's closer to my age than some of the other coaches. So, with that, and also some other coaches, Coach Bellini, I haven't talked to him a lot, but, when I do talk to him, it's, I could tell that he really wants to, get me there and stuff like that. And just with all of them, they're really cool people. And that's, other than the home state thing, that I feel like just with them networking and connections and stuff like that could get me far too, just like it would at Georgia and Bama.
Maason, before we let you go, you're the number one player in the country. Are you also the number one Madden player in the country? Is there anyone out there who's better than you?
I want to say no, but I know there is. So I'm going to keep it modest. Yeah, I'm not the best, but I ain't no slouch.
Hey, I was going to ask you about Thanksgiving. You mentioned you've lost 53 pounds. I'm sure you had some good food down in Louisiana on Thanksgiving Day. I'm not going to ask you about what you ate, but what is it like recruiting wise, especially in 2020 on like Thanksgiving Day? Did you actually, Zoom with coaches? Did you talk to anybody? Was it kind of like a day off from being that top recruit? What was that like for you this year?
It wasn't really a day off. I don't think I wouldn't say it would be a day off. I didn't really talk to a lot of them on the phone though. They all sent me text messages, knowing that I was with my family, and I mean, obviously they were with theirs too. So I didn't really get on a Zoom call or anything with none of them. I probably got on the phone with 2 or 3 coaches. But other than that, no, it was kind of chill. It was kind of laid back day, just hanging out with the family, having a real Thanksgiving dinner.
Well, a big shout out to Maason Smith, #1 defensive tackle in the country and the #1 player, Chad, in the updated 2021 rankings. That's what we've been busy doing all fall, getting ready for rankings. But first, we had to come back from Thanksgiving. Chad, how was some time with the family? Some time eating some turkey? How'd it go for you?
It was good, man. I mean, obviously it was different. We actually did not get with either side of our family this year because of just different reasons. Just my mother-in-law, she's been a little bit under the weather and had issues there. She's healthy, but she's been a little bit sick. And then my sister has a young child, and she's been a little bit sick too. So we just kind of just basically had a Zoom call with each family that day on Thanksgiving Day, and spent for the first time, I think, other than 1 year, away from either side of the family. So but it was good though. We watched some movies. We played some Mario Kart as a family. I come in third every time. I got my oldest son wins, then 10-year-old second. Me, I beat my wife every time I come in third place. So I don't finish last in Mario Kart. But yeah, I mean, it was good though. Ate some food, had some good time, and just our own, foursome family. How about you, your wife and your dogs?
Yeah, we kind of spent most of the morning just kind of prepping food, watching some football. Then we lost cable, we lost internet, and it wasn't even raining. But we were with 2 other couples eventually for dinner. Had a nice dinner. Watched the Cowboys game, and that seemingly went on forever. Disappointing not to see Pittsburgh and Baltimore play. I was really looking forward to that one, but I don't think they'll ever play it. So
doesn't look good right now. As we're recording this, we'll see what happens for sure.
But yeah, after Thanksgiving, that was what might be my last trip to Texas. Made a quick 3-game stop in DFW, and that, I think it's playoffs and kind of end of the season for me from here on out. So that's kind of signaling the end of a crazy 2020 year for us, Chad.
Yeah, it really is, man. I mean, like you said, we were out and you saw 3 games. I saw 1. I don't get the luxury of having 11 o'clock kickoffs on Fridays here on Black Friday in Georgia or Florida or Alabama or something like that. It's a little bit different, just the typical Friday nights, right now for us. And that's it. There was a couple sprinkled in Saturday games. The interesting thing about Georgia this year is just the lack of referees. There's, referees, a lot are older and they're not wanting to get out, at least in Georgia. They're not getting out as much and calling games if they're older because of the COVID risk. So what's happening is they've had to move games this year and use the same officiating crew on a Friday and a Saturday because of the older, referees, not able to call games on a Friday, or whatever. So it's been a little bit different. So there was a few Saturday games, nothing that I hadn't seen, so I didn't go anywhere Saturday. But yeah, I'm ready to kind of roll through the playoffs, state championship games this weekend. I'll be out in Tennessee, and we'll roll through December.
Exciting, a little trip to Tennessee.
Yeah, it'll be my first time since taking over the state for rivals. Going up to Tennessee. We'll be, I think, at Tennessee Tech in Cookeville, Tennessee, and yeah, I'll be there Friday, Saturday. Weather permitting, there is some rain possible Friday into Saturday. So if it rains a lot, I probably will. It's outside. So if I can't do my job and film and take pictures and all that kind of stuff, I probably will not be there at least Friday. But we'll see kind of as we go through the week what it looks like.
Sure. Well, just because it's a holiday doesn't mean that the news has stopped for either one of us. Obviously, with signing day is creeping up, and it feels like it's early this year. But it has been a weird year, so it's not too surprising that signing day is creeping up. But no shortage of news in your region in particular, Chad. It's getting to be all these early commitments seem to be kind of wearing thin as crunch time nears. What's been on your mind? What's been some of the big stories you've been covering?
Well, starting with that, the decommitments and flips, and I had a hashtag a few years ago. Tis the season to be flipping. And that's there are some direct flips, a lot more decommits, maybe for a few days, maybe for a few weeks, and then recommit and sign in December. And on the 16th, 17th, 18th was one of the early days for early signing period. But, kind of a split story for you and I. Luke Altmaier, Mississippi, 4-star quarterback from Starkville. I think if you follow him and you know him, I think you kind of saw this coming. He decommitted from Florida State after being committed for what 10 months, something like that, I think, or 8 months, 9 months, since last, I think, February 3rd, 2020. So he committed around signing day last year, in 2020 signing day. And he's been somewhat an Ole Miss, I think, lean for some time. And I think it's only a matter of time until he pulls the trigger there. And then 4-star running back, Amani Goodwin. I lost my mind for a second. Amani, thinking about all these different players, man, decommitting. Amani Goodwin from Alabama has been committed to Auburn for 18 months, a year and a half. That was his quote-unquote dream school. Backed off that pledge, and I'm hearing some buzz about where you live, LSU, and then also Florida State. So obviously always news happening. And then probably the biggest, commitment from a ranking standpoint in my region in the last few days is 2022 5-star defensive lineman Tyree West committing to Georgia on Wednesday, December 2nd. And that was, it's going to be a great year, defensive lineman, specifically in Georgia in 2022. Right now, he is the best. He's one of the best in the country. Early 5-star for us, committed to Georgia over Auburn. Just a physical guy that can play, odd man front at the 5 technique, strong side defensive end, can play in the even man 3 technique, a quicker interior guy, I think long-term defensive tackle, 6'3", 275 or so right now, a big-time player. Then I think the one that probably the biggest name to make the news this week was Terrion Arnold, dropping his final 5. And he's going to enjoy the process, man. He's always said from the very beginning, I'm going to have fun. He's going to take this thing all the way to February. He's not going to sign in December. He's going to play basketball. He's going to stay through May. John Paul Catholic over in Tallahassee. But Alabama, Georgia, Florida, LSU, Texas A&M, 5 SEC schools fighting it out for one of the top DBs, most versatile, I think, DBs in the country. And he's going to ride this thing out. His plan is to take visits, unofficial, of course, to all 5 schools, he hopes, on his own between basketball now over the holiday break into January. I think Florida has the buzz, the chatter, right now. But I do think Alabama and even Georgia, you never can rule out LSU and A&M. He has that connection to Jimbo Fisher that was at FSU, being in Tallahassee back a couple of years ago. The FSU was on him early. He knows Jimbo face-to-face, some personal time. He's at Florida State. So you can't count them out either. But I do think Florida, Georgia, Bama are the main 3, right now. What's been happening in your region, Sam?
Well, I think last time we had our podcast pre-Thanksgiving, Quinn Ewers was still on the market. He was evaluating his options. Well, now Quinn is officially committed to Ohio State. We broke it down on Rivals, so please go on the site, check out our coverage. And Quinn's talked about his relationship with Corey Dennis, the quarterback's coach who replaced Mike Yurchik, who originally offered him and eventually took the Texas OC job, which ultimately started this whole recruiting domino pattern. But Quinn has committed, and that started a domino. Caleb Burton, the number 1 wide receiver in Texas for 2022, has also committed. The interesting thing about Quinn and Caleb committing to the Buckeyes, neither one of them has been to Columbus yet. So it'll be obvious, that they're putting together a star-studded 2022 class up there in Ohio State. How quickly they can get those recruits onto campus when the NCAA opens up for visits. And, obviously it's a second commitment for Quinn, a first for Burton. These 40, 50-plus offer kids, when visits resume, I'm wondering if they stick or if this, do they eventually explore options? But, and the 2 of them committing, the third leg of this triangle, there's a lot of eyes on Armani Winfield out of Louisville, another Rivals 100 receiver in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, one of the best in Texas, having a great season. Reminds me a lot of Julio Jones. There's been a lot of Ohio State buzz there because they were recruiting them to Texas when Quinn committed there. I would keep my eyes on Ohio State to see if they can get another Texas talent for 2022. The other big buzz came out of Denison. I went up there for, my Friday matinee Chad on Black Friday. Got myself some Chick-fil-A for the road. No turkey leftovers. We had to hit the road.
I bet there was no Black Friday special at Chick-fil-A.
No, full price. And let's just say Chick-fil-A after Thanksgiving wasn't exactly the right recipe. I wish I had my leftovers. But anyway, Jadarian Price, healthy after an injury his sophomore year. This is my first time seeing him live, so I was really excited. He, first of all, scored 2 touchdowns, left Denison to the playoffs for the first time in his high school career, which is really exciting to hear for someone in our line of work, to hear, kids working toward that. He also said he's inching closer toward a decision. Stanford, Oklahoma State, and Texas are the top 3, he said. There's been a lot of buzz about Stanford, but Texas has kind of picked up some steam. Obviously, there's some confusion over the coaching staff and who will or won't be there beyond this season. But I have a future cast in for the Cardinal. He's a 4.0 student. Stanford has come into DFW and get a guy like E.J. Smith before. So that was my big future cast from the weekend.
Yeah, I mean, those future casts are tough sometimes. I went to my phone real fast to make sure I put mine in once you said that. When you're confident, I'm confident, about your guys for sure. Yeah, it will be interesting about, you go back to talking about visits, how that will impact the 2022 class. We're seeing, you mentioned Quinn, top quarterback, your guy Caleb, top receiver in the country, committing, top D tackle now, Tyree West committing to Georgia. These 2022 guys are now coming off, so early. Right now, we know they can't visit through at least mid-April, as of right now, unless things are changed by the NCAA as far as face-to-face time and things like that. It'll be very interesting for us to track next year once things hopefully get back to normal and they have that spring eval. They have, true spring games. They have recruits on campus. I can't imagine how big it's going to be next year once things open back up and you have that first junior day, or you have that first maybe end of April spring game in Columbus at Ohio State. How many recruits will be flocking and flying from or driving from across the country to get somewhere to see Ryan Day or Nick Saban, or Kirby Smart or whoever it may be about that school? I guess it's going to be interesting to track for sure. How many flips we have next year, how many decommits and flips, and because they can get that face-to-face time hopefully next year. But I saw 2022 5-star Tyree West. We just talked about him committing to Georgia recently. And obviously my second time, I hardly ever see guys play twice, but I saw him play first round of the playoffs against Jake Garcia, who's been one of the most talked about guys, maybe the most talked about guy in my part of the country since, early mid-August when he made the move across the country over to Georgia from California. He first transferred over to Valdosta to play for the living legend, Rush Probst, one of those coaches that's known nationally. He's had, TV show on MTV. He's won, I think, 7 or 8 state championships in Alabama and Georgia over the years. Jake played 1 game at Valdosta, brought him back to a fourth quarter win in game 1 against Warner Robins, then had a hamstring injury and didn't play for a couple of weeks. And people kind of wonder, is he hurt? Is he ineligible? And come to find out, he was hurt with a hamstring, but also ineligible. Transferred 4 hours north to Grayson, another top program, powerhouse in Georgia. Saw him play Friday night, and it was my first time seeing Jake live. Obviously, had heard a lot about him. He's one of the top quarterbacks in the country for us on Rivals.com. He's been Adam Gorney's guy for a few years, and he did what he needed to. I mean, he only, I think, threw 17 passes, completed 11. They were up 21-0 in the first quarter. They cruised to a 43-0 win. Jake, I think, was 11 for 17 for like 185, 3 passing touchdowns, 1 rushing touchdown. And what I took away from seeing Jake in person was I think he's just a true student of the game, a quarterback. He's smart. You could tell he was well prepared. You know, they told me, the staff at Grayson told me that they went over the, you know, kind of the script, the offensive game plan. When everybody else left, Jake takes that game plan script back out to the practice field on his own, going through every step. Is it a 3-step drop play? Is he supposed to look the coverage off to the left, come back? I mean, he's playing everything out in his mind days before the game is played. And that to me says a lot about Jake and how much he cares about his craft, preparation for a game like that. He knows that, you know, all eyes are on him every week. Being the guy that's been in the news, transferred Valdosta to Grayson. Now his team's a top team in the state. They played 9 or 10 games, are undefeated this year. It was his first start. You know, he threw some beautiful deep balls. He has a good arm. He stands tall in the pocket. He has great, I think, pocket awareness. He steps up, feels that backside pressure. He has that kind of internal clock, I think, in his head. I mean, he doesn't hold the ball too long. I was impressed, to say the least. I mean, I think he definitely can be a star in the Pac-12 at USC. He believes in Graham Harrell, the OC at USC, what he can do with quarterbacks. The offense there, I think he feels that it fits him very well. And I was impressed. I mean, there's other guys I saw too. Georgia Tech commit, you know, defensive end Noah Collins, defensive end Louisville commit, Victwan Brown, Georgia Tech athlete, running back commit, Jamal Haynes. All of them guys played well to me. It's 43-0. So they all did their part at Grayson for sure. And Tyree West did his part on the losing effort, having a couple sacks, couple tackles for loss. And Tyree definitely let, you know, Jake know about, you know, South Georgia toughness in football. I mean, they were trying to, you know, be physical with him as well. But Jake definitely, I went there wanting to see Jake and what he could do, and he definitely impressed. What about you, Sam? I guess anybody jump out for you?
Yeah, we talked a little bit about Jadarian Price. He mentioned that he was coming off injury, and they have him on a snap count essentially. But every time he touched the ball, he did something really impressive. So while the volume wasn't there weren't too many, you know, big splash plays. They don't throw the ball very much to him, which he's an all-purpose back. He's great with the ball in his hands with 4.5 speed. And I was impressed with his size, how his yards after contact. But I wish I could have seen more from him. I'm excited to keep seeing him maybe in a 7-on-7 to give another angle of his game, because I think he's got a diverse skill set. That night I got to go to Frisco Independence and Denton Ryan. Fantastic game for evaluating. And I'm really bullish on Jatavian Sanders. I think I've seen – you say you don't get to see a lot of players multiple times. I've seen Jatavian play. This is my 3rd time I think I've seen him play. And I think this is the time that really kind of got me thinking he should be in that 5-star conversation. He caught 2 touchdowns. He beat a DB downfield. He bodied up a DB on a slant. He took 2 in from the Wildcat. He also had 2 sacks. He's just explosive off the ball. He's so fast. He's so long. He played this that wide 9. He was fantastic. Then Bear Alexander's been back. I had to see Bear as we get ready for the 2022 rankings. He played like a 5-star. He's not a 5-star on Rivals right now, but he is so athletic and quick off the line for a 300-plus pounder. His motor is fantastic, and because Denton Ryan is so rich with talent, especially young guys on that defensive line, he can come in and out. So he is going 100% on every snap, which you love to see from an interior lineman, really any defensive lineman in general. So I was really impressed by that. Again, this is my 2nd time seeing Ryan. So I saw Billy Bowman, number 1 athlete in the country on Rivals, the recent OU commit, had a pick 6. Took a reverse around the goal line for a touchdown. He was facing double and triple teams all game, but he's really dangerous with the ball in his hands. I really, though, think he needs to be used at cornerback when he gets to OU. I just think he has such great anticipation, and the way he breaks on balls, it reminds me of Asante Samuel from back in the day. And then on the other side, Frisco Independence has a future Miami commit at tight end. Miami has a rich history of producing first-round talents at tight end. Elijah Arroyo is a little bit more raw than I thought he would be based on film. That's why these in-person evaluations are just so important. You can see a couple of drop passes, but raw physicality. He had a one-handed touchdown catch in the end zone on a contested grab. DB was all over him. He still came down with the catch. Another short pass to him by the goal line. 3 defenders, and he came up just short at the 1, but he almost powered his way in. So raw strength, raw power, raw athleticism. He'll learn how to run routes and get more separation, work on his hands a little bit, but he's got a really high upside. And then my Saturday game got canceled because of COVID, of course. I was going to go see the 5-star Kamar Wheaton. Instead, I went down to South Dallas, Kimball, and South Oak Cliff. Probably my biggest takeaway was Stanford commit Jimmy Wyrick. Really just a lights-out game for the Stanford commit. You'd already know he's a smart student, but he was equally as impressive in the classroom. He returned a punt 35 yards for a touchdown. He let it bounce to make the team think he was going to let it go. Then he grabbed it and was off to the races. He broke up a 50-50 ball. Jimmy's about 5'10", 5'11". Against a 6'5", 200-pounder, he broke up a 50-50 ball. Also broke up a slant in the middle of the field and had a couple of good tackles. He was playing in that game with a lot of Power 5 talent. I thought Jimmy probably left me, the most impressed.
Yeah, look at us, man. We're the mouse of the South, talking and giving some love to the West Coast schools. Stanford, I'm talking USC, Jake Garcia. Let's close with this. Just, we can talk about 2022 next week and all that stuff and, who we see and that kind of thing. What's kind of your thoughts on the college football playoff? Let's just kind of close with that. I mean, if the playoff started tomorrow and you had the power to put the 4 teams and seed them 1 through 4, who's with the game just being canceled? Does it matter to you? I mean, how would you see it, and what would you do with the 4-team playoff right now?
Yeah, Chad, I wasn't ready for this one, but let me preface this by, you just kind of heard what I was saying. Most Saturdays I'm driving around and going to games. I know that when you have the opportunity to see a high school game, you're going to go to it too. So I don't get to watch as much college football as I would love to. But I have caught quite a bit of games over the last second half of the season. And I do plan on catching a lot more of these championship games coming up.
Let me stop you there. So when your cable box is working and you have power out there in Louisiana,
Rarely.
Do y'all have the DVR service yet where you could record a game or two every now and then, or no?
We can stream and we find ways, despite the hurricanes and cold winds and cold weather, that just refuses to let me watch TV like a normal person. But here's the teams I like. Alabama is my number 1 team in the country. I don't think there's a question about it. It seems like last year Nick Saban took it personally, what his team didn't amount to, which was a rarity for him. I think they're going to win a national championship, and they're probably going to sign the number 1 recruiting class in the country and a statement year for Nick Saban. I think when you have Trevor Lawrence as your QB, that you have to be considered one of the best teams in the country. He went through COVID. They still survived with DJ Ukulele. I know that's not how you say it, but that's my best version of it. I think with Trevor Lawrence, I think we might get another Alabama-Clemson wrap-up matchup in the championship before Trevor goes off to be the first pick to the New York Jets. Ohio State, of course. They all have COVID and they all want to play again. They're all ready to go back onto the field. I mean, Chad, I was a Justin Fields guy. I don't know if you know that. And, now, I see why everyone liked Trevor Lawrence. I know why everyone liked Trevor Lawrence, but Justin Fields has so much potential, and he's playing so well this season for Ohio State. And then when it comes to the 4th team, I was really impressed with Texas A&M. I did catch that LSU A&M game on my way home on Saturday night. Texas A&M's defensive line might be the best in the country, right up there with Clemson, Ohio State, and Alabama. Leal, he is fantastic. Former 5-star from last year, Jalen Jones, had a pick. I'm seeing that the other 5-star, Damon Demas, is getting ready to play. Kellen Mond is going to play in the NFL. I know he isn't the sexiest quarterback, but he's kind of a game manager that will come in and have an opportunity to play. I like A&M too, and we can maybe get 2 teams from the SEC in there.
Let's don't let Mike Farrell hear you talking about how good Kellen Mond is, because he'll get back on the soapbox and said he's the reason we named him a 5-star. I think, Mond is playing better. It's just taking him like 7 years to get there and play at a better level for sure. Let me make sure I heard you right. So you said Alabama 1,
Yep.
Clemson 2,
Yep.
Ohio State 3.
Sure.
They haven't played 3 games yet. And then you talk about –
they got Justin Fields and Jackson Smith and Jigba.
And then Texas A&M 4, correct?
Sure. That's what I'm sticking with.
But yet Notre Dame beat Clemson, and they're not even in your top 4?
Yeah, they'll probably make it, but they could still slip up. And I'm
talking about this is the same. That's what I want.
Now, they beat Clemson without Trevor Lawrence, but I understand the game will still hold.
No, I agree with you there. I think it's a different game if Trevor's playing. I think Clemson on the road or at home would win that game. I'd say at least 8 or 9 times out of 10. Even though I have been pretty impressed with Notre Dame's play this year. When I've play, they have impressed. So for me, I'll do the whole, suspense factor of, going number 1. It's clear, like you said, Alabama. I mean, I don't know if they can be challenged. As much as I do like Florida's offense, and we've talked about this before. I mean, college is becoming an offensive game. I think it could be entertaining for a half or so, but just Bama's just – I think the biggest thing about Bama for me is those guys know how to win. Mm-hmm. Nothing is too big for them, no matter if they're a true freshman or a fifth-year senior. Saban has that mentality. Those guys have been there, done that. They know how to win big games, and they play big in big games. And it's hard for me to see anybody knocking them off. I mean, like you said, Clemson, maybe we see it again with Trevor Lawrence.
We need a heroic effort from the best quarterback in college football. It's the only way to beat them.
It would be fun to see Ohio State this time against Nick Saban and that team. Something different, But
sure.
So for me, I think Bama by a mile right now, number 1.
It would be cool to see Justin Fields play for a championship and maybe – not that people are down on him, but because they haven't played a lot of regular season games and the Big Ten started even later, Justin Fields is a first-round pick, and I feel like we aren't talking about him nearly as much as Trevor Lawrence.
No, we're not, but, he hasn't won that championship. He transferred schools. He's only had 1 year as a starter. It's a little bit different for him than Trevor, who came in, beat out Kelly Bryant, forced that midseason transfer, and the rest is kind of history. I'll give Dabo credit going back to that move. He moved Kelly Bryant, who was a seasoned veteran for him, and put that freshman in there, I think, week 4 or 5, starting, and kind of the rest is history. And what I've thought about, not going off the way from my top 4 real fast, is it'd be fun to watch Clemson versus Ohio State, seeing Trevor versus Justin to close out this football, it'd be cool for a champion, even round 1, if it's somehow 2 and 3. Because I just can't see Bama not being number 1 right now at the end of the season. Maybe it works out. But for right now, Bama by a mile. I do go Clemson, even though they have lost. I go Clemson number 2. Notre Dame gets 3 for me because they did beat Clemson, and they have played well against North Carolina and other ranked opponents on their schedule since early in the season. And then I go Ohio State. They haven't played the games, and they have struggled a little bit early in games. But, I mean, I think when they're going full steam with the talent they have and the offense they run under Ryan Day with Justin Fields leading the way if he's healthy, they are a nightmare for anyone, including Alabama. I think would be a great, entertaining contest. So, for me, A&M's out there. And I'm still not a believer, for me, if I had to go 5, that Florida's not better than A&M.
That's a good point.
They did lose that game in College Station. I think it was 41-38. I still think Florida's playing at I would say even a better level right now. But again, the wins and losses, it happens. You go off that. But I do like Bama, Clemson, Notre Dame, and then Ohio State. I think we should almost incorporate this now. Let's have our own top 4 every week on our podcast as well until things play out.
And I really do like Florida as well. And I was watching them a lot earlier this season. And with all the COVID stuff, you kind of forget because the teams are not playing week to week. You kind of lose track of who's playing and who's not.
Oh, there's no doubt. I mean, I guess for you, last question, we'll close it out. biggest disappointment this season for you as far as college football? Is it Penn State? Could it be LSU? I mean, who's the biggest one in your mind based on what you know, what you've seen?
You know, I think it's honestly the fact that all these games are canceled and moved and players are missing time. It's just I'm happy there's a season. There's a semblance of a season, but that's what you have to call it. It's a semblance of a season. I think there's a lot of disappointing teams. I think Michigan is really disappointing. I think LSU is disappointing, but you can understand it after losing, I think, 20 some odd players to the NFL draft, and including Joe Burrow, the number 1 overall pick, and all these other first rounders, and then losing guys like Shelvin and Jamar and Terrace. Those are all 5 stars that I had to cover. So I understand with that without them playing, it's difficult. Penn State is also I mean, we know the teams are disappointing, but I think the biggest disappointment is how these games are impacted by this virus, and it's just a terrible situation. But I'm glad that we have college football season. What about you?
That's a great answer, Sam. Like a politician answer. Come back around. It's great to have football, and which it is. That's for me too. I mean, high school, we're kind of have the finish line in sight. I know with the spike in the numbers, the positive test numbers in COVID. I know me being in Georgia, coaches here are worried about getting to that finish line, which their finish line is the week after Christmas. Same. So we're still a month away, and they're worried. They're every coach that's still in the playoff, it starts round 2 this week for us in Georgia. They're worried about getting 4 more games in, when some schools now out here have canceled or gone to remote because of COVID until at least January. So they're worried, but Tennessee finishes this week. Alabama finishes this week for me. Florida's 3 weeks out. So some states are making it. Bama, I give them a ton of credit. They started on time mid-August, and they finish on time this week, with state championship games. So, yeah, in the real world, I'm very thankful to have a season, whether it be college, high school, NFL. It obviously impacts our jobs, our careers, and what we're doing day to day and how we cover kids and seeing games and evaluations and all that kind of stuff. But end of the day, I think you and I are both on the same page there. We are thankful to have some type of season on all 3 of the different levels of high school, college, and pro. Sam, always a pleasure, man. I know we've gone a little bit maybe overtime this week, but it's been fun. We had a special guest and #1 player in the country.
No doubt.
Maason Smith. Thanks to you for making that happen as far as getting him on board on this call. But we'll be back.
Had a big Madden game. That's all that kept him from joining us.
But was Madden more important than Mouse of the South? I don't know.
Well, we got to get there. People can now subscribe to us, and then maybe we can succeed over Madden eventually. Yeah,
give us some likes, subscribe, follow us on social media. I have a very hard time of promoting anything like myself or any kind of thing I'm affiliated with, but I'll let Sam handle that part. Until I think was this our 5th episode?
Yeah, we're getting up there.
We made it like 1 month in a week, and we're now eyeing, a 2-month, streak. Get to the
eventually
end of the year.
We'll be into 2021. We'll be into our 2nd year.
Yeah, it's gonna be different that way too. No All-American games this year. It's different. It's different.
Weird to be home at Christmas and New Year's.
I'm thankful for every day. No doubt in 2020 that the people around me are healthy and I'm able to have this job, and my wife can go to school and teach. Your wife can be a principal. My kids can be at school. But I can't wait until we can get past this and move into 2021. And it's going to be a new normal, but get back to somewhat of the old normal that we're used to and doing just the things that we love to do and getting out and covering games and doing camps and All-American games and all of the above. So until next week, he's Sam, I'm Chad. Thanks for listening, and please subscribe to Mouse of the South podcast by Ravels.com.